4.
Everyone pick your starting pose.
Starting pose. Hello. Welcome to the anime panel here at QFX CloudCon, the first virtual convention partnered with QLikeYou.com. My name is Ria, one of the staff members here at QFX Events, and who I have with me are the amazing voice actors, Jen Brown, Leah Clark, Erica Luttrell, Elizabeth Maxwell, and Ciarán Strange. Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
It's Con Jim, but not as we know it. This is so weird.
I know, it is, right? I do want to start with the icebreaker because those are my favorite and they're always fun. And you're going to help me settle a debate between myself and the QFX director. So do you think pineapple belongs on pizza?
No. That's it. No. It does not.
It is my
easy.
favorite topping. My favorite topping on pizza.
Really?
Yeah. Yes. Hawaiian, so ham, pineapple, and then I add jalapeno.
No, yeah.
What is it about
I'm
the
in
pineapple?
heaven.
Is it just the sweetness? Like, what is it that does it for you with the pineapple?
I love contrast, whether that's in texture, temperature, or in like sweet and salty. So having that like salty, juicy pineapple on top of like the sweet, juicy pineapple on top of the salty marinara sauce and mozzarella cheese is like,
Leah looks like she wants to reach through the screen and just
hearing that. Just hearing
Gets
that.
me. She gets me. That's exactly.
Pineapple on the cheese. I can't with it. But I don't know. There's those that eat French fries and shakes together, like dipped French fries and ice cream.
I don't think I've ever tried that.
Oh, it's so good. You got to.
Oh, okay.
Is there anybody else in my camp on the panel? I didn't catch that. Does anybody else like pineapple on their pizza?
I have had pineapple on pizza and I don't hate it, but I don't like love it. Like that's where I sit on it. Like I've had it and it's fine. Like it's all right.
I can't really say because I haven't had it. So I have to say no just because I haven't had it, but I could have it and love it.
When I first came to this country, I saw that you guys were putting ice in tea and drinking it cold. And I was like, y'all are crazy. And it worked. So I feel like I shouldn't judge anything until I tried it at this point.
Oh, yeah. I trust you've learned.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate your use of y'all.
I know.
I can tell you're settling in well to Texas.
The climate.
Y'all is the perfect word because it's all inclusive. It's, non-gender specific. It's the perfect one for groups of people.
How do you feel about all y'all? Is that a thing or no?
That's fine. Yeah, it's just longer.
Even more inclusive.
Yeah.
Everyone
Is that
else.
like more like everybody? Like everybody?
It's everybody.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody.
So how is everyone doing? How are you keeping yourself occupied and sane during quarantine? Any like fun games, new hobbies?
Oh, geez.
I mean, the question was sane. I don't know if that's being accomplished.
No.
You move that away. I mean,
Staying sane. That's the question.
Staying sane?
Yeah. I don't know if sane is usually on my my register even previous to all of this that was going on.
I hear that.
Busy.
But yeah, but I've been lucky as far as being able to stay busy because I've been working on a project that I'm not allowed to specifically announce yet, but I'm working on a show that I'm executive producing out of my home. So I have been working on that for the past few weeks and putting together my wall set living room and all that stuff. It's very exciting. I can't give details yet, but it's been keeping me very, very busy and at least motivated because it's my own project.
Yay! I will.
Elizabeth.
I've been super busy as well, but I will say one of the benefits of being at home and not traveling all the time is I've had more time to actually play games, which I usually don't have a ton of time to play the video games that I love or want to learn to love.
Yeah.
And right now I am playing Dream Daddy.
Oh, I love that
And
game.
What is it?
I love it. It is like a choose your own adventure virtual
Dating
light
sim.
novel dating
Oh, I
sim.
love
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
And it is so well written. I
Mhm.
love the music. I love the
Yes.
graphics. I love everything about it, and I'm a completionist. So of course, like
Oh, yes, yeah.
I'm going through romancing every single Dream Daddy.
Yep.
Yes.
And I'm
The
about
daddies
halfway
are-
through.
The daddies are very like inclusive as well for like body positivity, and I believe,
Mhm.
don't quote me on it, but wasn't there one who was possibly trans or?
Well, you can choose to be.
Okay, so that's
Because
so cool.
you make your own Dream Daddy avatar, and you can make your Dream Daddy whatever you want. And because the whole plot at the beginning, which sounds super depressing and is that your partner has passed
Mhm.
away, you can choose whether or not your partner was female or male.
Oh wow.
So you have full control over your past and all of it's so great. Yeah, I'm so glad you're playing that, Elizabeth. I love that freaking game so much.
It's such a good game.
Where is it on? Is it like a PlayStation or where do you find it?
PC?
Oh, it used to be only on Steam, but they have since ported it to PS4. I think it's on
Oh.
Switch. It's on Switch now too, if I'm not mistaken.
I just
But you
recently started
seen
playing games
previously.
because of all this. Like
Me
it's
too.
on Xbox. Yeah, I didn't know anything about it. I know they exist, but I've never actually played them. So we started playing
You
some.
playing?
So I want more recommendations. So that sounds like something that would be fun. Anything
What
that's
do you
not like a
think
whole lot of
playing?
shooter and coordination, I want to do.
I'm like
wow.
now also working on it, so I can't recommend. I mean, I could recommend games I've voiced, but like literally,
Yeah.
I'm just starting to play them, so I'm not
Cool.
Well, what are you playing?
Well, for instance, I started playing. Well, okay. The only game I've completed now in this period is Journey.
That
Nice.
sounds fun.
So
What is that?
I was like, okay, it's pretty.
It's
It's
beautiful.
sort of, you don't know what you're doing. I love that. I love us choose your own adventure, but not necessarily in this case, but just like, I don't know what the point of it is. So I enjoyed that about it.
I
But
love
fully
that.
and then I started playing Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, which is, because I know, I mean, I work for that company, one of the games that I do. So I was curious what that was like. And it's so beautiful. I'm just blown away, really. Like, I know I've obviously, voiced these things. And so I get to see the cinematics, and I sometimes will watch gameplay online of people that are, so I can hear kind of what I did. But
That's cool.
really kind of immersing yourself in a game. Like, I did it on story mode because I'm like, I'm not in there very deep, but it's just stunning. I mean, I know everybody out there already knows this, but it's crazy to be playing a movie,
That's so fun.
It's also, it's
called
kind of
Journey?
cool to like go back and play old games that people haven't played. Like when I was first in Borderlands, I went and I played Borderlands 2. I think I've locked my roommate out. One sec, let me finish my story. One sec.
No.
So I actually went back and I played Borderlands 2 for the first time, and it was really cool because like everyone watching me knew the game like the back of their hand, but it was new to me. So all these players, I guess, Erica, like if you were to stream it, like they're going to get to see your reaction to stuff that's like so old to them, and it's
I'm
really
like so nervous. You don't know though, because I just can't be bad at these. Like,
Dude,
I'm literally, okay, here's the thing.
Do it for the entertainment.
Okay, fair. But like Dishonored, for instance. So I was like, okay, I'm going to try and play this character. So I'm literally doing the training, and it's my voice training me.
Crazy.
I'm like, God damn it, I don't know what and I'm like soothingly speaking to myself. Telling
must be so
myself how to
surreal.
get this dude, and I'm like failing miserably. I like need a titch more practice. Is all.
Do not feel bad about
Before
that.
I broadcast to like all of the people.
Well, actually, I learned this from we had to stop it recently or last year because other projects got in the way. But I was streaming a few times a week with Jen Brown Plays on Twitch, and we were doing it for like 2 years or so. And when I first started, I was abysmal. And that was when people enjoyed watching the most.
Really?
I got better. Oh yeah, that's what people like watching. They prefer to watch you like struggle and be in. Yes, because that's no joke. You are describing exactly how my gameplay would go.
Here's what happens.
In the beginning.
When you guys duck, like I'm fully move my whole body, like I'm just like, okay, I gotta hide from the guy. I'm like,
are you a button masher? Because what I do is like, even though I don't have to go really strong on the controller, for some reason, my hands are exhausted after 30 minutes because I'm just like all my strength into it.
I don't, at least maybe I give up too soon to like get carpal tunnel, but like
I don't have to like grip it so hard, but just like whenever I would play Halo or Borderlands, I'd just be like,
oh man. Yeah. So games. We've been doing some
Everyone's been gaming, I guess.
Gaming is amazing. And I mean, there's a lot of voice gamers out here too. So
well, and also just to the point, I'm also a huge introvert. So to the point of like staying sane or whatever, like this, I mean, yes, I'm crazy all the time, but this actually makes me a little bit more sane. Like being inside and not having to constantly interact. Like it's crazy how fast. Right? Like you realize how fast the world moves always. Yeah. And like, I'm like, this is amazing to have a day where I'm like, okay, I work and then, but I work here. Like this is literally my booth behind me. And then I just meditate. I don't know. It's fine.
Nice. I like that.
Erica's like, I'm never coming out.
I'm never coming out. I'm just in there all the time.
So we've gathered actually a lot of questions sent in by the fans on Twitter and Instagram, and some pretty good ones. My favorite one right now is, what inspired you to get into voice acting? Ciarán?
Ironically, I never actually went for it. I was doing music and I met Joel McDonald from Gearbox, and he kind of was like, your natural voice is perfect for a character we want to have in our game. So I kind of fell into it, but like acting was always something I wanted to do. So it's kind of cool to discover that I can do this other version of acting as well. So I'm enjoying it. Like I fell into it, but I'm really enjoying it. So
nice.
Leah?
I've always pursued acting and theater and just that craft in general. So I kind of fell into it ish. I mean, it was just like another audition that I wanted to do, but I've always wanted to voice a cartoon, but I could never say, I want to voice a cartoon. I just knew I wanted to be in that world. And when I say that world, I mean like Jim and the Holograms and like, you know, little Smurfs. I wanted to be the girl Smurf, like the other girl Smurf. And I felt like when I was 6 years old that there was a place for that because there was only one. And they could probably use another. So yeah, so that was always kind of like in the back of my head that I wanted to do it, but I wanted to perform, and I was doing a theater show, and the guy that was directing worked at Funimation and said there were auditions and recommended me, and I went in, and yeah, it worked out.
That's amazing. Elizabeth?
Well, I've wanted to act since I was like popping out of the womb. It's like I've always had that drive to act and to tell stories. But for some reason I just never viewed voice acting as an avenue for that, which is funny because I grew up playing video games and watching a lot of cartoons and anime, so you'd think that would have popped into my brain, but it didn't. And it wasn't until I moved away from LA and moved to Austin, which I knew was a smaller market. And so I knew I needed to be a little bit more creative and open about how I continued to make a living as a performer. And, you know, I was, you know, kind of talking about this with some friends, and they were like, well, you know, you play games, watch anime, and you're a big nerd. Like, why don't you do voiceover? You've got the training and you've got the like familiarity with the industry. And it was kind of one of those like light bulb moments, like, how did I never think of that before? And yeah, I was pretty determined to make it happen after that. And I think about 8 months later is when I got my first audition with Funimation, and they were one of my first voiceover jobs as well.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Erica?
Yeah, me. I don't know what order our boxes are in. I started. I started when I was a kid. It's a funny sort of story. Like when I first started walking, my family clapped and I sat down and I didn't walk again for like 2 weeks, apparently. So, who knows if I was destined to be an actor, but I started when I was 2. And my first, and I love it now, obviously, just in case anyone's concerned for me. But my first voice gig was the Magic School Bus. So I was like, I love how people still don't know.
I did not know that.
Really?
I'm Keisha, the one with me. I'm the one that looks, that's me. So
I love the Magic School Bus.
did you not know that shit?
No, I didn't know. No.
I was like 11, 12 when I started doing voice.
That is like the coolest credit.
Dang, that's awesome.
It's pretty cool. I had a wonderful time working on that show. And I had
Can I
no
get your
idea
autograph?
like when I got to my 30s, I didn't realize this is going to be like the show that like all my contemporaries are like, so what have you done? And I mentioned that and they're like, what? Literally my wife was like IMDb'd me after our first date and like had an input because she's a teacher. So she said she would every day, when she was sick as a kid, if she was home, she would watch the Magic School Bus, and then like rainy day recess as a teacher, she would put on the Magic School Bus. So I'd like been a part of her life long before. So that's my.
That's really cute.
Hey, Erica, can I get your autograph?
Yes, you may.
I think she's doing one-on-one sessions, actually.
You can have my number even. Wait, you have it.
There it is.
I'm crying from laughter.
Erica's autograph, but it's for a different character that I love so dearly, obviously. Steven Universe, because for my wedding, actually, our first dance was to the gosh, my brain just broke.
I hate that.
Where do we go? What do we do? Yeah. Something entirely new. Yeah. First wedding dance, and so Erica was sweet enough to send me like a little sapphire like pin and sapphire ruby pin and an autograph. It was really sweet.
Of course. You also have my number.
I do also have your number, and we've hung out in person multiple times. Just saying, though. I was very excited when we got along because I was like, you're in my neighbor's house. You're gonna be in my wedding. You don't know it.
Meet your heroes, kids.
Yeah, actually, sometimes it works out. Sometimes their number and stuff.
So Jen, what about you? What inspired you?
Well, like Elizabeth, I have been wanting to act ever since I was little, and have been acting ever since I was younger. I was always that kid that was constantly trying to recreate voices and imitate everything that they saw on TV and SNL and things like that. I just really liked mimicry and just being really big and silly. And I did theater for years and years and years. I ran a theater company in Austin, and I did film a little bit here and there. And then probably 5 years after my theater company had to slow down because we were all kind of moving in different directions, I was like, oh, I should start focusing on voiceover and film more. That pays. I should do that. Yeah, it pays. And so I had my first audition with Rooster Teeth for Red vs. Blue. And I got it, my first VO audition I ever got. And I remember the side was like 2 lines long. And I thought, oh, cool, I got this little small bit part. And I'm still on the show going on to season 18. So I was
Dang.
obviously wrong, which I'm very relieved to be wrong about that. But I was happy just to get like, what a small part in a voiceover role, and it turned out to be this huge thing that was like an internet phenomenon that most of my friends my age don't realize is still on. They're like, "Oh, I used to watch that like 10 years ago." I'm like, "Well, it still exists."
On Netflix now?
So,
Am I crazy, or was it on Netflix for a while?
it was on Netflix for a while.
Yeah.
Yes. They took it off, but it was on there for a bit. And they've aired it on El Rey, and it's been on a few other places. But
It's legendary.
and so then I just kept doing it after that. I just like kept doing more stuff, and then I started doing the DCUO voiceover, and yeah, I love it. My voice has always been my strong suit. Like whenever I was like in theater, or people would always be like, "Oh yeah, that one. We need someone to speak really loudly to be like heard from like the back row without sounding like she's yelling. Yeah, give that one the part." So I always knew that there was a future in utilizing my voice.
I mean, it's meant to be. It's meant to be. So the next one we have is what do you do to prepare yourself for a character?
Saw the eyes.
Leah?
Gosh, that a character in voiceover?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't have a whole lot of time. We're talking about probably maybe minutes, I guess. Usually when you walk in, that's when I figure out what I'm doing. And the process kind of is between like me and the director, and we figure it out together. So it's kind of a trial and error. Try this voice on and give more direction for that, and we just kind of volley back and forth until we figure it out. So yeah, it's not like theater or film where you kind of have like the luxury of like walking with this character and living with it months prior before you go in. At least for me, I don't know, maybe other voice actors get to do that, but I just usually have to walk in and rely on my improv skills to create the character.
Yeah, I'll agree. I say that is most of the time. A lot of us have to kind of rely on improv. When people ask me like how to, what should I do to become a voice actor? I'm like, well, aside from acting classes, improv, because that is what you are doing in the booth a good majority of the time. And you have to be comfortable getting into character really, really quickly. But on the other hand, I'm very, very lucky to be one of the few people that gets a chance to play a character for years and years and years and years. So like in the one case of Agent Carolina, like I've been playing her for almost a decade now. So when I go in, it's just like, oh yep, there she is. Like I do not need to prep. We don't have to like figure things out. I just like, I go in, I do my 3 passes, and they're like, yeah, that's it. Because it's usually a new director every season, and they're like, okay, they're like, you probably know better than we do. So at this point, you've been playing her for so long. So it's I feel really, really lucky because I know that is rare. And I don't know how much longer the show's going to go on, but I feel really, 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 really lucky to be able to have the chance to play a character VO-wise for that long and have it actually grow and change.
Yeah, I mean, I think what everybody said about improv, and you have to be able to be malleable in order to work in voiceover, I find, because how much time you have to prepare and prep and create a character does vary so much depending on what you're working on. I've had the honor of working on one AAA game called Just Cause 4, where there was a lot of motion capture and performance capture and cutscenes, and they treated that script like a movie. Like we rehearsed, and I had access to not only the director but the writer, and I mean, it was really intense world and character building. But as Leah mentioned, with anime, a lot of times we don't even necessarily know who we're voicing until we get to the booth. And so you have to be able to make kind of snap decisions really quick and go with the flow. But I will say one of my little actor secrets that if I have enough time to do this is I like to try and create like one sentence or phrase, whether it's my favorite line from a script or whether it is a line that I feel like kind of encompasses the essence of the character or their worldview. And then I can use that by repeating it to kind of short circuit my brain into that character's brain, if that makes sense. Both kind of like mentally and vocally. So yeah, that's my little actor's secret.
I do that as well for like my repeat characters to like get back into their voice. I have like a word or a phrase that I repeat over and over until I feel like I'm solidly in their voice.
I was gonna say, I mean, it's funny, my brain's all over the place on this question because all of those things are true, you know, and the voice world is so, I mean, it's so varied. You know, the world of being an actor, obviously, to your point, Leah, you know, about theater and, you know, on camera stuff, the same kind of, you get like the script and you're working on it over the weekend and you have all this time to character, you know, develop the character and decide on backstory and all this sort of stuff. What's actually quite interesting about the voice world is that they tend to give you a lot more backstory than you even get for some of the on-camera and theater things that you might otherwise be doing. Like some of the breakdowns are like, you know, a page long. And so you are gifted all of this kind of stuff that you can work with. But most of the time, you know, with animation, there's a significant amount of time where they will give you like the script a couple days beforehand, but obviously you don't have to memorize it. And so it's more just like getting a sense of what's going on. And then I think in voice for me, I'm just so used to, you know, with video games and what have you, just going and just, you know, a huge script just being thrown in front of you. And then you just have to, you know, okay, line one, you know, so just feeling comfortable going with my instincts, you know, doing on camera stuff. I'm constantly developing things. I'm deciding who I'm talking to. I mean, when I was working on The Last of Us 2, it's funny, I won't even say what the severity of the injury would have had to have been, but I kept saying like, is this what happened to them? In order to determine how horrified I was. Like, were they both murdered and did this also happen? Because if that happened, I'd be very mad. So is it here or is it over? You know, so you're constantly trying to find, you know, key phrases, certainly for characters I've developed over time. Yeah, like there's, you know, Bangalore, I'm like drop, shocked and rocking all day, you know, like before I go in, just so I can get into the timbre of what she sounds like. But yeah, I mean, it's just finding those moments, deciding who you're talking to sometimes, if you even have enough time to know that in any given line. And yeah, coming up with the severity of how, you know, serious the situation is.
Hi. Yeah, no, I was that kind of leads off kind of to what I was going to say. Is, I'm kind of learning my voice right now, and being trans means I get some odd castings. I got a role in My Hero Academia for like a really big, like heavy set dude. And I was like, I am like an alto. I'm adorable. I'm like a baby tenor. So like it was kind of like understanding my voice enough that I could pull something deeper up from inside. So like, I think just knowing your voice and knowing like on less of a mental and more of a physical kind of note, like understanding like, okay, well, this character's going to be from here. So I need to pull from this part of my body, and like keeping everything stretched out when you go in and that kind of thing. Like for me as well, like practicing British and American before I go in. So so that's kind of fun.
Nice. Well, I guess kind of following that, who has been your favorite character voice?
Oh God, I hate this question.
Yeah, I mean, I love them all. I mean, there's so many that are so good and that I've connected to at such a deep level. And what happens with your characters is that they're all parts of you. Mm-hmm. So it's sort of, you know, deciding like what part of you do you like hate the most? You know what I mean? Like, I wish I could murder that part. Which I suppose we sometimes do feel that way, but I try not to when I'm being my best self. So, I mean, I you guys. So I love them all. It's the most irritating answer, but like, you know, I put a lot of myself into all of them. So there you go.
Is there one that you get like particularly excited about though?
You're so funny. You're the one who said you hate this question, Elizabeth.
I know, but I still really like to hear people's answers.
I I'm gonna say this bucket. Like I was so because it was kind of the beginning of me coming or my voiceover career sort of like taking off again. I don't know. Like the Magic School Bus was the only like voice thing I did when I was a kid. You know, I was otherwise doing all of tons of on camera, and you know, when I moved out to LA, and then at some point, you know, I tried to, not to give you this really long answer, but at some point I was like, okay, I've never not been an actor. So like, maybe I'm gonna, but I also knew what the industry is like, and you can't really like leave it and like come back. So I sort of leaned back from it a bit. And when I leaned back from it, the voice stuff just started taking off, which was really interesting. And it was the voice stuff that reminded me what I loved so much about all of it, because I got to play such really interesting, complex characters. And so that brings me to Dishonored 2 and Emily Caldwin. When I got cast, I didn't know, you know, sometimes you audition, sometimes people will give you these huge, long scripts to audition with. And I'm like, I don't know that you need all of this, like to determine. And sometimes they'll just be like, yeah, we only need these 5 lines. So you don't even know if this character is very significant or what. And so it was a code-named character. You know, it was like 5 lines, like maybe this much script on the, you know, and I auditioned in my bedroom, sent it off, didn't even know what it was. And I remember when they brought me in for the first recording session and they showed me like the announced trailer and I saw who she was and who I was like, and it would just like blew me away. And I was like, so excited because I'd always wanted to play, you know, like flawed heroes. And I hadn't really, I mean, I'd been in a lot of like children's TV live action wise and hadn't yet been able to, and I don't, you know, for whatever reason, obviously there's a lot of conversations in the world right now about that, but been able to play like really interesting. So I was like, oh my God, cool. She's like totally the thing. And so for me, I guess coming into the sort of the voice stuff and like being able to play the witch doctor and being able to play Emily Caldwin and having these kinds of like really meaty, heroic roles was very exciting to me. So those 2 roles in general for me were sort of pivotal in reminding me what it is I love about being an actor, like in all the things.
Awesome.
So that.
That's awesome.
I agree. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I agree that with Elizabeth, this is a tough question. However, I am very lucky because I have my answer is actually very easy because I had already been doing voices for Rooster Teeth and for DCUO online for a couple of years, and my boss at DC would always be like, if you could voice any character in the world, you know, like in the DC universe, who would you voice? And then he asked me that like the first day that I first started doing like Lashina and other smaller characters like Green Lanterns and, you know, random lady at the party. And I was like, oh, Harley Quinn. I mean, I've been obsessed with Arlene since I was a child, and it's, you know, the most iconic voice, and I love mimicking it home all the time. And it's like the one voice that I can do like an impression of, really. That's pretty on brand. And then like years later, lo and behold, he was like, hey, so Arlene has to retire from doing the voice for DCUO, and you're the only person we're auditioning. And I was like, so I have to say Harley Quinn because it's literally my dream role, and I got to voice her for the game. So it's kind of hard for that not to be my most favorite. And it's also one of the roles that I did the most prep for, in that I spent hours and hours. I mean, I'd already been practicing doing her for years, but like prior to the recording, I spent so much time studying the series again and studying her patterns. Because while it was my own Harley, it was based off of Arlene's version. So I wanted it to still have that nod to her. So I like spent a long time really making sure that it was top notch, and I loved it. I love getting to do it. That was my favorite. It was the most fun.
Awesome.
Ciarán?
Oh, probably my first anime role. I mean, I love Lorelai from Borderlands. I really would love to revisit her character, but like, The first time I got to do anime and dub anime was for like a little mini like 1-season show called Astro Lost in Space, and it's
You
so
were so good. You were
It's-
so good.
it's so good. And so I learned an American accent. I studied with
Hey!
Ciarán Strassman to try and learn how to speak like an American. And he's such a cool character, and I loved the LGBTQ connections with him. Like I read the entire manga in preparation and was kind of like, oh my god, this character, like, I won't spoil anything, but like I connected with him on so many levels, and he's such an interesting character for anime, like because of his connection to the LGBTQ kind of side of things. So definitely check it out. I won't spoil what it is, but he was a really interesting character, and he was received really well. And Caitlin and everyone else who was working on it like did such a good job with it. So I'd love to get to like play that character again, but it's done. It's put to bed. It was like 1 season. So, but I love him. I love him so much. He's my boy.
I couldn't believe that was your first anime
Really?
dubbing role.
Oh my
No,
God,
you
that's
were
so
like,
cool.
you're such a natural at it. You're so good.
That's awesome.
I want to see it.
You should. It's
It's
really
good.
cute. I'll send you
It's a-
the scene, the reveal.
Okay. Yes, please. That'd be awesome.
Thank you. Gonna die now.
Elizabeth?
Before I answer that, can I just say, that I think it's so cool that you guys have ASL interpreters on this panel, and B, Frank and Justin, you are killing it. I am like mesmerized by you guys. So A+. But it is a hard question to answer. I love every character that I get to bring to life for different reasons. I could literally sit and list every character and tell you why I love them so much. But the one that is probably one of my most favoriteest to do is from a Rooster Teeth show called Camp Camp. And the character is named Nikki.
Yep.
And she was a first for me for a lot of things. It was some of the first prelay voiceover that I ever got to do, which means that I wasn't dubbing. I was, the animators animated the mouth flaps to my performance instead of the other way around. It was one of the first lead roles I ever got to do. It was the first comedy I ever got to do. So it was really important in being a lot of firsts for me. And I also just absolutely adore the show as a fan.
Yeah.
Like the writing, the animation, the performances of all of the other actors in it. It is so funny and such a wonderful, amazing novel show to me on so many levels that, yeah, it's got a very special place in my heart.
Yes, and you're so friggin' good on it too. I love
Thank
Nikki.
you.
Nikki
Thank
is so great. Yeah, and I mean, we get to have our characters get to have a special little relationship on that show. So
I was gonna say Nikki and Arid are,
Yeah.
Nikki loves Arid very much.
and Erin doesn't love Nikki, but like she's fine.
Leah, what about you?
Huh? Oh. What our favorite
Leah's like,
character
where am I?
It's you.
Who am I?
You know what's funny is when we get on these Zoom things, I forget that I'm an active participant sometimes because I'm watching it on my screen and like enjoying it and just kind of feeling it. And then all of a sudden they talk to me and I'm like, what? Oh, what episode is this? They're in there. So sorry. One of my favorite characters that I play is Kobayashi from Kobayashi's Dragon Maid. The voice, it's just mine, but it's a character that I related to so well, just her dry personality, and it was just fun. I don't know. It's the first show I got to record while I was drinking coffee and sitting down. Usually I'm drinking water and standing up. So that was fun. And for some reason, I really love doing like nerdy boy voices. So I played Kobe on One Piece and Fuki and Sergeant Frog, and it just sits very comfortably in my voice, and I like doing it. So yeah, those would be my favorite.
Awesome. Okay, so we have time for one more question. And
Oh.
I know.
No.
Erica's not done.
I mean, if you could hang all day, this would be fun. So how do you feel about the impact you and all of your characters have made on the LGBT community and, you know, POC and LGBT representation? Who wants to go first?
I'll kick it off again. Oh, no, you go.
No, I said someone more veteran than I, so you go.
For God's sake, guys. It makes me teary. It makes me weepy every time somebody writes me a letter. Every time I see a post. When Steven Universe the finale happened, it was just like this flood of posts and beautiful art and just people, you know, speaking to how it impacted their lives and their childhoods and will be with them forever. And they're so sad that it's. I mean, I can't even. I mean, it's impacted my, you know, if I watch the show, I'm like, look at me, my nose gets red when I get teary, but like, yeah, it's just so moving. And I had no idea when I got that role that what it was even, what it was going to be and how it would impact people. I mean, I think it's those things in your life, or at least I've found it's those things in my life that I least expect that end up being the most impactful, both to me and to those around me. So, you know, I've spent my life sort of chasing after certain things and hoping I get, that part over there, whatever. And then it turns out that, you know, the one that I didn't expect, that I didn't even have to audition for, that, you know, ends up being life-changing, you know, for me and for so many people. And then in turn for me again. So, that.
I love that. And of course, you know, Steven Universe is my favorite show of all time. So I am one of those people who's greatly impacted it, and I'm a 37-year-old woman with no children. So
It's such a touching show. I mean, I was just like the finale, the movie, the things like it. I will go back and rewatch it in order to help me in my own life get past.
Yes. Seriously,
you know, I mean, just even for instance, like turning into the big monster creature and saying all the horrible things to his friends and all this. And I'm like, I don't, you know, I mean, we don't, all of us, it just helps normalize being a human being.
Yes.
You know, and like being a human being. And I find like for me also being an actor in the world, like there's all this weird pressure to like have a brand and like say only the things that sort of fit in with who you are supposed to be to like the people. But like I'm so many different freaking things. Sometimes I'm super grumpy. Sometimes I just want to sit in the corner like this with pillows behind my butt. You know, sometimes I'm like really weird, you know, and I feel weird. And it's so lovely to have, you know, shows like that, like Rebecca Sugar created, that give us a view into how okay it is to be varied.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that.
What about you?
I really, really, ridiculously appreciate any sort of like love I've gotten from all the communities I get love from fans from Ruby and Red vs. Blue and Camp, like just across the board. It means everything to have people appreciate your art, especially if you're like me and you're a big weirdo nerdy dork who's been going to conventions and been fans of people. And been that person waiting in line to get someone's autograph. So it's really, really, really fulfilling and satisfying to be on the other end of it, because I understand the impact that it has and how important it really is to people, because it's important to me. So I love being able to have those special connections with people over my art. And also, as a pan, like bi woman who's older and is married technically to a cis man, I feel like it's important that we show the whole breadth of the rainbow of the LGBTQIA community. And when I was younger, I used to be terrified. I didn't even know I was queer because I was constantly told you're either gay or you're straight. That's it. There's no in between. There's no gray area. Bi erasure was real. And it took me a really long time I didn't come out until I was 25. So it's now I feel like it's really important because I meet people, other bi women that are in the industry. They're like, oh, I don't feel comfortable calling myself bi because, you know, I date men. And I'm like, that doesn't matter. Are you attracted to women? Have you dated women in the past? Guess what? You're bi. And I've definitely had people tell me that they really appreciate how vocal I am about it, just because I just don't want anyone else who was like me growing up to feel the same way I felt growing up, where like I can't say who I am because I'm going to be made fun of and told to pick a lane, and that I don't belong in either community. And I don't want anyone to feel that way. So it means a lot to me in that respect. And also, it's super, super fun, speaking of camp, to play a character that has like 2 cool gay dads that are like FBI agents. Like, shut up. I cannot tell you how many people come up to me and they're like, I love your 2 cool gay dads. And I'm like, yay! Yeah, I don't have any technically, and none of the characters I play are queer, but fathers are, you know, 2 very, very awesome FBI agents. So I love that one. When I read that in the script, I was like, yeah. So, yeah.
Awesome. Leah?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I know how important representation is in media. Just being a little girl who wanted to be an actor in general, like when I was growing up, it's like if you weren't blonde and white, you know, you probably weren't featured. So the second, you know, Barbie had brown hair, or there was a star of the show who was Hispanic, I was like, it's for me too. So I felt that, and so I know when I get to play a character who is a leading character or a heroine that's, you know, in the show, who is, you know, queer or going through struggles and being played very realistically, and just I love it. To be specific, you know, I played Ikano and Darling and the Franks, and there's this whole scene where she's breaking down and crying because she can't help who she is and who she loves, you know. And I cried in the booth because I'm so close to, you know, friends and my family. I mean, I'm a theater person, like that's just like our church, and we all love each other no matter what, like who you are, what you look like, you just love. Like it doesn't look like anything, it just looks like love. And so it breaks my heart when someone feels like they have to hide that. So to get to play something that shows, you know, support in that way, or to relate in that way, I loved it so much. It meant the world to me to be able to do that.
That's great.
Yeah.
Ciarán?
I feel like, yeah, similar to what Leah was saying, and in that same vein, like it's, especially with gender, like there's so much going on in the world right now with, like, you know, joke rolling and all of her BS, and, you know, like a lot of like stuff in the political spectrum with gender, and it's really difficult sometimes to just wake up and like go online and see a bunch of stuff telling you that like you're not a human, or like you're not the human you think you are, like even worse, that you just don't deserve to live. And I think that just like when you have a fandom or a studio or like an author or a writer or an artist or something who is sort of willing to be encompassing of that and kind of like be like, no, that actually has a place in this world. So like that was one of the things I loved about Borderlands, was that it's so, the minorities and the genders and the sexualities it encompasses are so cool, and it's so inclusive for everybody that anybody can go into that game and kind of like see themselves. And if they haven't, and if they can't, they've said to themselves, like, we want to change that. We want you to be able to see yourself in our game. And I just think that's like a really cool way to be viewing it. Like I remember like years ago, I think it was, somebody made a comment about how like, oh, you know, not everybody can understand the story of a POC or a queer man, but you can all understand the plight of the white man. And I'm like, no, most of us actually can't. And it's really cool to see that there's more, right? And it's so cool to see that there's more stuff now. Like one of my favorite freaking movies in the world right now is Coco. And it's like, I have no Mexican ties. I have no ties to this culture or this heritage, but there's something about moving away from your home because of music. And it just goes to show that like you can see the world through the eyes of any protagonist. Like you can always find something in that character that you identify with. It doesn't matter what their like gender or skin color is. So it's really cool to see the world moving in that way. I'm really excited to see stuff kind of taking a turn, that we have more inclusivity. Like it's necessary. Like we can't hide from it. And the more we put it out there, the more they're gonna fight, and we just felt it.
Oh yeah, definitely. Elizabeth?
Yeah. I mean, I've always felt like I've personally understood the power of representation. Like this seems like kind of like a small little example, but I was super nerdy when I was a kid, and I was picked on a lot and bullied. And I played video games, and I have this super vivid memory of playing Chrono Trigger. And one of the main characters in it is this really awesome little inventor chick named Luca. and I remember just kind of having this like realization of like playing this game and loving this character so much, and seeing how she was like this really important part of the group and really appreciated by the group. And so having this realization that like, oh, just because like I'm a bookworm and I'm smart and people make fun of me, like I can be cool too to the right people. And it was like kind of a shift for me. And so when I was cast as the role of Ymir in Attack on Titan, we actually did not realize at that time that she was a lesbian. And I remember when that started to come out in the story, that I was just so thrilled and excited that we were seeing, because we've seen lesbian relationships in anime, but it's usually like a bunch of girls in their bras and panties, like, you know, having a pillow fight, and it's like super sexualized. And I just remember how surprised and thrilled I was when I realized that, to my knowledge, Ymir is the first lesbian that has been shown in anime in a non-sexualized way, where we really got to see more of her humanity and the universal nature of that love. And it was a huge honor. I was so excited and thrilled to be a part of it. And I find myself grateful all the time being in the community that we're in, that I have the chance to be online on social media and celebrating these things with people, and with whatever small platform I have that I can raise awareness or use the almighty dollar to further the causes that I believe in. You know, like I think I announced on Twitter that if you buy a one-on-one or an autograph with me through CloudCon, that I'm going to be donating a portion of my proceeds to House of Gigi, which is an amazing transgender resource center and education center in the South. So I feel really grateful to be able to be a part of this.
Oh, I love that.
We're grateful to have you.
Yeah. Those are all amazing, and I just want to say thank you. And you know, this is the end of our panel. I want to thank you and everyone for joining us here. I know.
Let's stay here forever.
If only. Thank you all for joining us here at QFX CloudCon. This was the anime panel. Thank you, Jen, Leah, Elizabeth, Erica, and Ciarán for being here with us. You are all amazing, seriously. But I also really want to say thank you to Justin and Frank for, you know, our amazing interpreters. They have been, you know, amazing. And again, I'm Ria from QFX CloudCon. We also have a lot of programming for the rest of the weekend. We have the Artist Alley coming up and the 100 panel. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you very much. This has been great.
Thank you.